Hello everyone, welcome to Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services. This is a video on daily news and editorial analysis, which I'll be covering from the Hindu and Indian Express. The most important news and editorial that would be relevant for the preparation of civil services examination will be discussed in this session. Let's get started with the news topic list. Today is 19th of April. The first important news is regarding the ISRO plan to launch the TeLEOS-2 satellite. Second, IIT to appoint mental health counselor. We have seen the cases of suicide in the IITs. Third, India to appeal WTO panel ruling on ICT import tariff. Second last, India, China stack up Russia's oil above the price. And the last is an editorial, a judgment that upholds the constitution. So apart from the news and editorial discussion, at the end of this video, there will be MCQ based questions. These questions will be based on current affairs that will help you for the upcoming prelims examination. So without any further delay, let's get started. And if you're new to our channel, do not forget to subscribe Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services on YouTube. If you like this video, if you find this video informative and helpful, do press a like button. And a golden opportunity for all the aspirants will be appearing for CSE 23. This is prelims test series, which has been compiled and presented with provide you 60 high quality tests along with 6,000 plus questions. These questions are at the par with the UPSC standard and the question that is being asked. So it is very important that before you appear for actual examination, you practice a good number of practice sets. And along with the prelims test series, we will provided with 12 months of IAS Guested monthly subscriptions. This is something which will help you to revise the current affairs. And this course, this test series is available both online and offline. So do check it out. I have provided a link in the description section from where you can fetch further detail and register for this particular test series. Now, the first news on the discussion, that is ISRO plan to launch the TeLEOS-2 satellite, something important for General Studies Paper 2. Paper 3 precisely, that is achievement of India in science and technology, Indianization of technology and development of new technology. So Indian Space Research Organization, also known as ISRO, will launch Singaporean Earth Observatory Satellite TeLEOS, we also call it TeLEOS-2, the broad of the work horsepower. This is basically a PSLV. This will be launched using the PSLV, right? So Polar Satellite Launch Vehicles की मदद के through this satellite will be launched. The launch will take place from Satish Dhawan Center in Sriharikota, which is scheduled for April 22, that particular month. The satellite on board is a TeLEOS-2, the 750 kg of Earth Observatory satellite. You can see over the image. And it has a synthetic aperture radar, right? So that call for providing data with 1 meter resolutions. And the satellite arrived basically in India in February. Now, looking into the part of PSLV as a launch vehicle, the launch vehicle, there can be a question directly asking what are the vehicle that was used. So the correct answer would be PSLV. The launch will be carried out using the Polar Satellite Launch Vehicles. And this will be India's 55th missions and the TeLEOS in the Earth Observatory satellite that was developed by ST Engineering. The launch vehicle has also carried on board of India's biggest missions, which include Chandrayaan-1, Mangalyaan, as well as the AstroSat. Now, major achievements की अगर बात करें in terms of the part that is taking place. So the launch of TeLEOS will have a third launch of the year by Indian Space Research Organization. So this will be third part of the achievement that India has done. और इससे पहले की अगर बात करें, the first launch took place in February, जहाँ पे SSLV, I think most of you must be aware. We had a discussion in detail about the small satellite launch vehicle. इसे भी use की गई है, and this is something that will be relevant for your prelims examination directly this year. That is for prelims 2023. So make sure you revise all this thing. So small satellite launch vehicle India ने operationally इसको successfully किया. उसके अलावे the part of the other that include the heaviest LVM-3 launch vehicle and 36 OneWeb satellite that was for purely for the commercial missions. Now, if you see the part of the achievement which is there for ISRO for April टू 2023 जो रीयूजेबल लॉन्च व्हीकल ऑटोनोमस लैंडिंग सैटेलाइट है जिसे RLV लेक्स भी कहते हैं, दिस वाज अचीवमेंट व्हिच वाज डन बाय इसरो. उसके अलावा इन द February part there was SSLV D2 EOS and missions, and on 26 March there was one Web India 2 mission. So there can be a direct question asked for the achievement that ISRO has made in the year 2023. There are other dates which is also mentioned. You can refer to the ISRO website. You will find this link. Now, moving to the other news, IIT2 appoints mental health counselor, something very important decision coming out from the Ministry of Education. This particular news is relevant for General Studies Paper 2, that is issues related to development and management of health. So over the time, we have seen that the cases of death has been reported from many important premier institutions from the country and even the institutions from Center Excellence. तो जिस तरह की कंसर्न्स रेज हुई है उसको ध्यान में रखते हुए जो एजुकेशन मिनिस्ट्रीज हैं उन्होंने डिसाइड किया दैट देयर विल बी अ मेंटल हेल्थ काउंसलर इन एवरी इंपॉर्टेंट कैंपसेस इन द कंट्री. So this was decided by a meeting which was chaired by IIT Bhubaneswar director, and even the meeting was chaired by the part of the education minister. So all at the meeting, the mental health and wellness students were discussed with the education minister and the need to develop a robust mechanism to have a zero tolerance when it comes to decriminalizing for the institution is concerned. Now, looking into the part of the death that has been reported due to suicide, these are the numbers from Indian premier institutions which include All India Institute of Technology, National Institute of Technology and All India Institute of Management, that is IIMs. तो numbers की अगर बात करें, these are the data. I'm not getting deep down into the part of the data analysis as such, but you can pause this video and you can read out the complete part. So in 2023, the number is not that high, but the trend continues to be on a momentum side. Now, what are the preventive measures that definitely is required from government end? So Ministry of Education has directed every Indian Institute of Technology to submit a report on a specific reasons that why students are struggling because of the mental issues. What are the reasons? What are the things that is promoting, right, to this decision of a student where committing suicide, dropping out the midway, and in some cases restoring to the extreme steps that lead to suicides and death. The government called for zero discriminations on their campuses, and it is also implicit recognitions of the presence unequal treatment. And IITs are likely to hold a social meeting on the aspects of mental health and next few months where student, teachers as well as parents will also be invited. See, for our student to build up, the institutions become very important, the teachers become very important, and nonetheless parent is something which is a composite part for our overall student success. Now, augmenting the student-teacher ratios की भी बात की गई है because the paucity of teachers which is there in the premier institution is evident. So the members of the council during the meeting has suggested that the teacher-student ratio should be 1:10 as compared to existing, that is 1:20. 1:20 का मतलब है हर अभी एक टीचर जो है वो 20 बच्चों को टीच करता है. Now this is something that has to be maintained to 1:10. It will help the teachers to give better attention to the issues that students face, and emphasis was on the part of giving identity to the student, their potentials, and even both in the classroom as well as in the part of the attendance and in the hostel, and even to give them the attention that is required and give them the motivation for the life and for career prospects. Now, other news, India to appeal WTO panel ruling on ICT imports and tariff. Something important for General Studies Paper 2 under the subtopic, that is bilateral regional grouping and agreement involving India and affecting India's interest. So recently Ministry of Commerce ने appeal file करने की बात की है in the WTO, and why they are filing that appeal, because dispute settlement which is coming directly out of the WTO is not in the favor of India. And it has said the settlement panel ruled that India's import dues on certain informations and technology products are inconsistent with the global trade norms, which is again definitely is going to impact the manufacturing part also with the concerned industry. Now, the dispute panel in the Geneva-based WTO, and basically on Monday, I said that the import duties that is there for the certain information and technology products violates the global trading norms. Now, if you see the part of the background, why the thing has evolved and how it has reached out to WTO for the resolutions and the part of the resolution which is coming out from the WTO exactly. So in April 2016, the European Union, Japan and United States have written to WTO seeking the justifications from India for increasing the basic customs on the host of ICT products. Right? इन्होंने फाइल की. Now in 2017, in further development after 2016, the government has levied import duty of 7.5% and later increased it to 15%. You can see the number from 7.5 has just doubled to 15%, right? On the host of IT products, which encourage the domestic production. And this was a challenge that WTO out in EU in 2019, and Japan, Taiwan has also filed subsequently to this, and the duty was raised to 20% later by the government. So which started from 7.5% has taken a toll up to 20%, and this was the problem that many other countries has come up with the WTO. Now, appeal against the decision, definitely India will not resist with the decision and it will appeal. So India is expecting to appeal to the decision which was made by the WTO, and definitely the tariffs on the mobile phone and the electronic components to bid and ensure that country's domestic market goals is not impacted, because India ने इसके लिए बहुत सारी schemes लाई है. One among them is the PLI scheme, that is production linked incentive schemes. The appeal will be filed before the WTO appellate body. Make sure you read about this. This is very important. There can be a direct question from the WTO appellate body, right? Whether which is the final authority in terms of such dispute. तो कई बार यूपीएससी ने ऐसी चीज़ों पे जो करंट अफेयर्स में रही हैं डायरेक्ट क्वेश्चन पूछा उन ऑफिस के बारे में, whether the appeals body is mandatory in nature या उसके खिलाफ अपील कर सकते हैं नहीं कर सकते हैं. What are the things you must know? उसके ऑफिशियल पेज पे जाके अबाउट इसमें पढ़ लेना. It's important. Ruling about the dispute, that is with the European Union, Japan, Taiwan, again the duty of WTO. And in 2019, it has challenged to introduce the import duties by India on ICT products. As I've told you, the figure from 7.5% of earlier data, from 7.5, the number of the tax has been increased to 20% on the part of the ICT products by India. Now, there's an information technology agreement. You must know this if you're discussing in the part. So it's a pluralistic agreement enforced by the WTO to conclude the part 29 participants in the ministerial declarations of the trade and information product at Singapore in 1996 and come into effect in 1st July 1997. It seeks to accelerate and deepen the reductions of the trade barriers and even critically imported of the ICT industries. And India is a signatory to the part of the ITA, that is Information Technology Act, or the agreement, right? So even this factual information will be relevant for the prelims examination. Now, India, China snap up Russia's oil above the price cap, something important for General Studies paper 2, that is effect of policies and politics of developed and developing countries. So this news has been reported. Why? Because Reuters is a brand, basically as a firm, it's a media house, which has reported that India and China have snapped up their vast majority from Russia's oil. रशिया की ऑयल इन्होंने एक्स्ट्रा परचेज की है और हाई वैल्यू में परचेज की है, despite the fact that there was a sanctions from the United States and the Western section and even the sanctions from the European Union, right? So per cap was $60 per barrel, but जो amount थी वो काफी exceed. This means that Russia is enjoying the stronger revenue despite the West attempts to curb the funding for the military operation which is going in Ukraine. And even for trade part, बहुत सारे ऐसे countries हैं जो अपनी countries के साथ रशिया के साथ जो trade है उसको पूरी तरह से abrogate किया. This is mostly with the European Union and the Western countries. Now supplies to India, if you see the data as such, so India accounts for more than 70% of the seaborne supplies, and for the month it's about 20%. Meanwhile, the lower freight rates is smaller than discount of the Urals, and against the backbench nudged with daily price at the grade back, right, which is April from the part of the loop. And India and China have not agreed to abide with the price cap, but West hopes that the trade could sanction the part of debtor and help those by countries buying oil and the gas. Now, price difference की अगर बात करें, shipping cost has come down significantly in the recent week with the Russia spot and eased and more tanker become available. और अगर Urals की बात करें, this is mostly the part where Russia's oil is being traded off, right? So in the ballistic ports, India have almost like 7.5 to 7.6 million and 8.5 to 8.1 million a year ago, right? So these numbers might not be relevant, but मैं आपको trend बता रहा हूँ how things are working out. So the ballistic ports to China was 10 million, which is down to 11 millions for a couple of weeks. And during winter, the Ural cargoes were jumped up to 12 million for both India and China. So this is how the number has actually increased and the value has actually increased. Now, moving to the editorial of the day, that is a judgment that upholds the Constitution, very important. Something relevant for your General Studies Paper 2 in mains, that is structure, organization and functions of executive and judiciary. So what I'll be discussing in this editorial, first talking about the theme and the focus of this article is about the media, one case, and the judiciary, how the judicial activism, or you can say the proactive nature of judiciary to sail out some of the issues which is really a controversial one for the government. An attempt to regain the glory of judiciary, the court and the positions, and the conclusion part will be discussed over this editorial. Now, to get into the background and the premise of the part of the article, recently I also had a discussion about the Malayalam news channel Media One case, and this case has become very significant where Supreme Court has ruled that the sanctions which was there by the Home Ministry is not on the lines of the democratic setup and the rule that is there for the media houses. The Supreme Court in the judgment has upheld that the political reading is not merely, basically इस एडिटोरियल के थ्रू भी ये बताने की कोशिश की गई है दैट इस जजमेंट में सिर्फ हमें पॉलिटिकल रीडिंग की ज़रूरत नहीं है, वी नीड टू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड द लीगल एंगल, जहाँ पे सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने जो बैंड थी दैट इज़ वन मीडिया एंड द कंप्लीट न्यूज़ चैनल इज़ इट्स कॉल्ड माध्यम ब्रॉडकास्टिंग लिमिटेड इंडिया, उसमें सैंक्शंस लगाई गई थी मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ होम अफेयर्स की तरफ से, सो दैट हैज़ बिन लिफ्टेड ऑफ बाय द सुप्रीम कोर्ट. The landmark judgment on the freedom of speech and expression for the judicial sphere is against the sealed cover malpractices. Supreme Court ने sealed cover के जो practices हैं उसके खिलाफ they have come up in a proactive manner and they said this practice of sealed cover should be removed in the case where public should know what is the exact conditions. The judgment come at the time when center is being criticized for its attempts to destabilize the part of the institutions and democracy. Now, in attempt to regain the glory, definitely after this judgment, Supreme Court tried to retain every aspect. You see where things are coming low in terms of legislative process, Supreme Court will definitely uphold it because it is a body, it's a guardian of the Constitution, and it has to do it, right? The Supreme Court has tried to regain the glory in the अनूप बर्नवाल वर्सेस यूनियन ऑफ इंडिया, जहाँ पे इलेक्शन कमीशंस के बारे में बात की गई थी कि जो इलेक्शन कमीशंस की अपॉइंटमेंट होती है इट शुड नॉट बी एन एग्जीक्यूटिव डिसीजन डायरेक्टली, राइट? It should be something which should be the composition and a collegium system, not exactly the collegium, but there should be a board of members that should be there. कमिटी बनानी चाहिए जहाँ पे कुछ इंपॉर्टेंट जैसे चीफ जस्टिस ऑफ इंडिया हो, प्राइम मिनिस्टर्स हो, एंड लीडर ऑफ अपोजिशन should be appointing and selecting the part of the Election Commission of India. This was a suggestion which was made. Now, the contribution by the Chief Justice of India in modernizing the part of the court is remarkable. जहाँ पे e-court जैसी बात की गई है, and even for the part where the online live streaming, right? Live streaming was also there. So these are some of the important efforts taken by the Honorable Supreme Court and even the CJI, which has definitely promoted a lot more trust to the courts for the normal people, right? And even for the past, the constitutional principles were developed in the court in a manner where the either in functioners has mere an academic value. The court and the oppositions, see, court cannot functions opposite to the government, right? It is not like something favoring to opposition, but court will definitely point out any loopholes, any problem that is existing. It does not mean that it is working on the line and parameters of the opposition. It's straight away, it is not like that, right? So the judgment की अगर बात करें मीडिया वन जजमेंट की, is evident of the judiciary effort to restain the majority outcome, जहाँ पे मेजोरिटी ने इस डिसीजन को गलत बताया था, द कोर्ट हैज टेकन काउंटर मैरिटिज्म रोल वेयर इट इज क्वालिटेटिवली पार्ट ऑफ selecting the positions and come up with a decision which is in a democratic setup should be appreciated. The court has, however, not upheld the positions or even when part of the legitimacy is concerned, definitely Supreme Court would uphold with all its judgment. For recently, the apex court has rightly dismissed the opposition plea. ऐसा नहीं है कि सारे oppositions या ऐसे issues जो national interest में हो उसे सुप्रीम कोर्ट डेफिनेटली रिकॉग्नाइज करती है, बट इट डज नॉट मीन दैट एवरीथिंग विल बी टेकन केयर बाय द सुप्रीम कोर्ट. जहां पे सेंट्रल एजेंसी के मिसयूज की बात की गई है, ऑपोजिशन पार्टी ने काफी कंसर्न रेज किया, बट सुप्रीम कोर्ट हैज सेड दैट लेट इट फंक्शन, इट इज वर्किंग अंडर द यूनियन एग्जीक्यूटिव, सो दैट इज समथिंग विल सी ऑन द लेटर. The grievances is genuine, but the political solutions is not an adjudicatory part. और यहाँ पे political solution की जरूरत है, adjudications या judiciary की बहुत ज़्यादा intervention की जरूरत नहीं. Now, to conclude the part, the Supreme Court can only put forward the judicial and constitutional in check as an extending state, right? And it cannot have a political check, which can only happen in the way of moving mass movement or electoral decisions. The media one judgment has underlined the institutional capacity of the court, not only for the Supreme Court, but for all other courts like High Court and lower courts, so that in the political times, that trouble that is coming out in the institution, and even to protect the fundamental right of an individual, should be upheld with utmost priority in a democratic setup like India. Now, moving ahead with the MCQ questions of the day, before I proceed, just to tell you the answer of yesterday's questions. For first question, the correct option is A. For second question also, the correct option is B. So these are the two correct options for the past questions. Today's MCQ question about the Zonal Culture Center. The council is set up by the Ministry of Home Affairs. It is regulated on an annual grant conducted on the various activities programmed by JETCC. Now, Agni 5 के बारे में आपको बताना है. It's surface to air missile, nuclear capable ballistic missiles, and it's carry both nuclear and traditional war weapons. So do check out for the correct option. Practicing a lot more question will give you an added advantages over the upcoming prelims examination. So this was all about for daily news and editorial analysis, followed by the MCQ questions. If you have any other concern, do reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to assist you. For time being, I'm signing off. Thank you so much for watching this video.